Yeah, run it back, nation. What is good? Fire Take Nation. What is good? We are back in the building. It is DJ Eastwood, Run It Back Philly, and RB Philly Take. The collab. You guys been asking us why you guys don't collab anymore. What's up? Is RB and DJ Eastwood beefing? No, nobody's. I just made that up. Nobody's ever said that.
They have said that. They've said
that.
They're trying to take us down, man. Crazy.
That's what people see greatness, and they just want there to be drama, man. It has to be. Yeah. So we're here, man. We're here. We're collabing again. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna try to do this every Thursday. All off season. The off season so far has been eventful for every team but us. It's been pretty funny, honestly. We were just texting back and forth, and he's like, "This is actually hilarious covering this team right now," and it kind of is. It is what it is. We're here for the ride, and we're going to talk about all of the things that are popular topics right now on the Sixers front. A little bit of mainstream NBA stuff. We're going to go back and forth. RB, how you been, my guy?
Doing good, man. Getting through another Sixers drama off season. We thought back then that it would be a cold time covering the Sixers. We wouldn't have much content to make, but this team never fails to put something ridiculous out there or just spice it up. I mean, we're in July. I mean, we just watched the Sixers Summer League game, but there's so much other drama going on. It never, ever stops. It's 24/7. It's clockwork. The people are out there. I know they have a lot of frustrations, and I think that's why they really, align with some of our content, because nobody's talking about it, but things need to be said, and that's why we're here. And man, is this the craziest off season yet? I don't know which one's the craziest, but man, it's been a time covering the Sixers.
I'm starting to think the NBA has more eyes on it and makes more money in the off season than they do in the regular season. Because let's be honest, like 25 games into an NBA season, everybody's like, yeah, I'll check out the game if I feel like watching a Tuesday night against the Detroit Pistons. Like nobody cares. And then the offseason starts and it's like a VH1 show every day.
Dude, we were 5 games into the season, and I remember our collaboration. We were saying, let's fire Doc Rivers. It's over. We're 1-4. The season's done. And then people were mentally checked out for a good 50 games. Nobody was tuning in. And you're right. Like, it's more entertaining now. Teams are signing players. Teams are making trades even today. And we're out here analyzing the Hamptons party, Daryl Morey taking pictures in front of crumble cookies. Like I even said it on my video yesterday. Sometimes you just got to take a step back, think about everything that this organization has been through, and just laugh a little bit. It is funny, man. It's hilarious. I can't believe the times that we're going through right now with the Sixers.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we watch sports for entertainment. We watch sports for something in life that essentially doesn't matter in the grand scheme of like the rest of your life. So, whether it's good or bad, it's entertainment. We're just watching it, enjoying it, talking about it, whatever. So the first thing that you kind of threw out to me earlier was the temperature of the fan base.
Yeah.
So I think that's an interesting topic because I see 2 totally different sides right now. I see people that are totally checked out, people that are upset with absolutely every single move that's being made. There's people in my comments that are like, you're just mad at everything that happens. There's nothing. Daryl Morey can't make you happy. And I'm like, well, I mean, finding out that we signed Mo Bamba, I'm not going to do a cartwheel. You know what I mean? Like, I don't hate the signing. I'm just like waiting for something that actually means something. Rather than like, oh, this guy's better than Dwayne Dedmon. Like, congratulations. It doesn't really, I'm not saying you shouldn't have signed him. I'm just saying it just doesn't move many needles. That's all I'm saying. And then you see like the other side of the fan base, the side that's totally checked out and is like, screw this. I'm not buying. There's a lot of season ticket holders are like, I'm not buying season tickets this year. Somebody told me the first time in 18 years, I'm not buying season tickets. So if that continues to happen, then Josh Harris starts to feel the heat, and then he starts to, maybe go into like process 2.0 or something like that. But then there's the other side of the fan base that is like, just chill. We're better with Harden. We shouldn't want to trade him anyway. We're gonna run it back, and Daryl Morey's gonna. Nick Nurse is gonna save the whole thing and turn the whole thing around. So there's, I'm not saying that's impossible. I'm not saying Nick Nurse can't have much more of an impact than Doc Rivers did, or the team can't look totally different with Nick Nurse versus Doc Rivers. That's a very good possibility. But yeah, there's two totally different kind of opinions and viewpoints from the fan base right now. There's a very negative side and a slightly optimistic side. What do you think?
Well, first off, I want to say shout out to everybody in the chat. You guys are going crazy and appreciate everybody in here. We are live on both channels as well. So guys, do us a favor. Just keep chiming in the comments. Let us know your thoughts as we go through all the topics, and, let us know if you want us to continue to keep doing these shows, man, and give us some support in the chat, and be sure to hit the like button on both channels as I see everybody flooding in now. But
always
to your question, yeah, absolutely, man. And to your question, I'm starting to think that we should be very worried. I mean, we are now, a month or more into the offseason, and the only thing that you have done is sign Patrick Beverley and Mo Bamba. And I got to be completely honest, the Mo Bamba signing is really throwing me off the deep end. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. And then at the same time, all these Sixer fans in my replies on Twitter, I think are trying to compensate for the fact that this team really doesn't have a plan. Let me ask you, chat, does the team have a plan? People are throwing out Mo Bamba. First off, I'm getting a ton of flack. I can't believe it, because I'm frustrated that Jalen McDaniels walked on the biannual exception for $4.6 million. Matisse Thybulle got $11 million today. And I know it's an exception, and the Sixers don't have it because they used it on Daniel House Jr. last year. You get it every other year. But we should be frustrated. And for the first time, honestly, I don't think the Sixers have any plan on what they're doing. You have lost 5 out of 6 years in the same spot. And people keep saying, oh, well, James Harden made this team better. And they ended up in the same spot. Yes, they were minutes away from going to the conference finals, and this could have happened and that could have happened. But any Sixer fan that's frustrated has every right to feel the way that they do. You wanted to, feel some kind of significant change. Nick Nurse was great, and I'm very happy about that. But you have added Pat Bev on a vet minimum and Mo Bamba on a vet minimum. And I think people don't know what to think. Like, everybody thought there was a plan. Oh, yeah, let's trade Tobias. Oh, yeah, Harden's going to get traded. No, like, Daryl Morey was throwing a curveball in the last couple weeks with the Harden trade request, which we'll get into. And now there is no plan. This is a hostage situation. I think it's turning into another Ben Simmons situation, if you want to be honest. And people should have every right to be frustrated as heck right now, because it doesn't seem like there's any plan at all.
RB, I'm not gonna lie, I've been just grinding on my side, and I haven't really caught up with your opinion on things lately. And that's funny, because I was assuming maybe you would be the little more optimistic than me. I thought I was the one that hated everything that's going on.
No, I was until a couple weeks ago. And then during free agency, they did nothing. I didn't really expect much, but really the letting McDaniels walk was the tipping point for me, and not really doing anything and signing Mo Bamba after he gets waived, and Pat Bev. I like Pat Bev. I've been wanting him on the Sixers for 3 years, but not seeing any Harden trade, progress. Like, they reported it crazy for a couple hours, and they said, oh, this might happen before free agency. And then we hear, oh, well, the Clippers don't even want to give up Terrence Mann. So I said, you know what? We're kind of screwed. And then, actually, I'm sorry, the icing on the cake was Daryl Morey trolling the Sixer fans.
Yeah.
And that really threw me off, man. I thought there was a plan in place, and right now there's no stop, drop, and roll, man. It's just run for your life. So I don't know what to think, man.
Yeah, that Daryl Morey troll is, look, I know he thinks he's funny. I know he wants to be a jokester. This is a city full of passionate sports fans, Daryl. This is not Houston, Texas. This is not, oh, we'll just put different players around James Harden 10 years in a row and everybody will come back to the arena. This is and so people that haven't been here for a while, he's only been here for what, 3 years?
Yeah.
Maybe, has it been 3 years? Yeah.
Wait,
It's like
James?
Morey.
Oh, Morey, yeah, 3 years.
Yeah, I just don't think he quite grasps how serious this fan base is about their teams and how much they will absolutely protest down Broad Street, if things don't turn around quicker than they seem like they're turning around. And then, yeah, to throw out a troll like that is like, it's a slap in the face. There's nothing happening. The whole fan base is mad, and the whole fan base is saying Morey's just collecting a paycheck, and then you're going to post a picture in front of a cookie thing and make a joke about it. Like, it's not a joke, dude. We've been losing for 40 years. There's nothing to joke about. Make the team better.
It's so frustrating. And one comment I just want to address really quick in the chat, like, because I've gotten this reply probably 100 times. Somebody said, well, McDaniels was trash and there's other guys that can fill in. The Sixers don't have a bench. They don't have a bench. They let George Niang walk, which is expected. Shake Milton had no role in the team. McDaniels walks. Okay, who's the replacement? Like, everybody was so intent. Oh, yes, keep McDaniels. Even more, he said, we're going to re-sign him at the end of the year. We traded Feibel and we traded a pick. Okay, maybe he didn't show enough potential. I still don't think he got enough minutes. Different conversation. But you let him walk, and it's not like he got some of these crazy, free agency numbers. Like, people going off the board for $15 million, which is crazy. Bruce Brown, almost $25 million. No, it was $4.6 million. And the Sixers could have matched it. And yeah, I'm frustrated. I don't see who else they're going to pick up off the bench.
Yeah, that Jalen McDaniels thing for Daryl Morey, that's not good. That's not even that's very bad. That's very bad that you traded a player plus a draft pick for a guy. That guy walks, you get nothing, and the player that you traded with a draft pick gets paid more than the other guy, which means at least two NBA franchises got offered and then got matched. At least two NBA franchises feel like Matisse Thybulle has higher upside than Jalen McDaniels, and you let Doc Rivers run you into the ground and make decisions. It's just, yeah, that one is a big time head scratcher. And now we didn't have any wing depth besides McDaniels, and now we have none.
So this team has no wings. Somebody said to me yesterday they're allergic to wings, and I'm starting to believe that. And
it's weird because it's a wing league.
Right. And McDaniels fits perfect under the prototype of what Nick Nurse likes, or at least what he thrived with in Toronto. And you also let him go in conference to another team like the Raptors. It's mind-boggling to me. And it's not like, okay, McDaniels walked, the Sixers picked up this guy. It makes sense. No, they haven't. They haven't.
Yeah, so the temperature of the fan base, here's what I'm going to say. It depends what fans we're talking about. Are we talking about the real Philly fans? Like, if you go down to Center City or walk through, any street in Philly and ask a guy with a Sixers hat on what he thinks? Or are we talking about the Twitter kids that just joined, that just started watching them 3 years ago? I'm not trying to throw shots at anybody, by the way. I'm just saying the real ones that are down there in Philly, how do they feel? And they don't feel good. I'm telling you right now, everybody that I talk to in person is like, this team is done, is absolute. They are way on the negative side. So I would say the temperature of the actual fan base is very low right now. And yeah, Daryl Morey trolling is not funny. Nobody thinks it's funny. I would say the temperature of the fan base is something has to happen. You can't come back like this.
Yeah, everybody's boiling. The temperature, I would say, is just like getting to that point where things could explode. I think people are frustrated. Again, you've been in the same spot for 6 years, and I'd say the worst case scenario was just, staying the same, keep the same roster, run it back. You didn't even do that. You let some of your free agents walk, and you've picked up a couple vet minimums, but Harden's situation is kind of holding everything down. And I think people thought that Tobias could get moved, but based off of Daryl Morey's comments, it doesn't seem like that's even in the scenario now. So how do you get better then? How do you get better? You don't have cap space a lot, and this team doesn't want to go into the tax because of the ownership. So what do you do? What do you
I hope Daryl Morey's playing the long game. Like, we're going to get into what Windhorst said today. I hope he's playing the long game. I hope he's just playing hardball and something major happens. I don't think he's an idiot. I think he knows something major has to happen. I do think he's probably, just doing the same thing he did with the Ben Simmons situation, throwing out ridiculous offers, telling everyone we're not trading anybody. We don't need your, and then he's going to pull the trigger at some point. I really hope that's what happened. But before we get into that, Zaire Smith cooking the Sixers in Summer League is probably, on top of all the other things, one of the funniest things I could ever think of. Because I thought Zaire Smith wasn't alive anymore. I thought he died of a peanut allergy. No, I'm kidding. But I didn't think he was in the NBA. I didn't think he was playing a Summer League. and it would be and also he's playing for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Who does that make you think of? Isaiah Joe. It would just be hilarious. And that's the thing. Things like that you can't even really get mad at anymore. You just got to laugh at it. But if Zaire Smith ends up like getting a roster spot on the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it would just be another what are we doing kind of thing. It would just be another full circle, like just a story that writes itself.
Seeing Zaire Smith out there tonight, 11 points in like 5 minutes. I just couldn't believe it. I'm happy for him that he finally gets a chance to get back on the court. Like you said, a weird situation. I'm happy for him. I still will never understand the decision to trade Mikal Bridges. But Zaire Smith out there hooping. We know Isaiah Joe, and I don't know if you've been keeping up, but Julian Champagnie has been going off for the.
He got a contract, didn't he?
Got a $12 million contract, 4 years, I think it was, 3 years. And I think his first 2 summer league games, he had 28 and 30. And he just looks like a completely different player. So another player that, escaped the Sixers and as of right now looks really good. But again, it is summer league. I understand. But still, man, it's tough to watch. It's crazy.
Yeah, we got a couple guys that are fun to watch in the summer league. But yeah, it's again, Furkan Korkmaz dropped 40 in a summer league game. So what can you really say about it? I feel like I'm starting to wonder, and we're going to find out, I think, this upcoming season, if Doc Rivers wasn't the only one that doesn't look at young talent. Is Daryl Morey also a guy that's just like big name? I don't know any of these guys, and I don't care about any of these guys. I need stars and stars and stars. And other teams are like, we'll take Charles Bassey. We'll take Isaiah Joe. We'll take Julian Champagnie. We'll take Zaire Smith somehow.
Well, what's funny, and it's funny because you mentioned this name earlier, and I was thinking about it. Dwayne Dedmon. Not only did the Sixers cut Isaiah Joe and Charles Bassey, I remember we were talking last year about which player they would cut. They cut both, and the funniest thing about that, which I think will really show its head this year, is that Daryl Morey said that roster spot was cut, and Doc Rivers echoed this as well. To have an open spot going into the season so that during the trade deadline or buyout, the Sixers could add a player of value. And they kept that roster spot open the entire year. And you know who they used that on? Dwayne Dedmon.
Yeah.
They used that roster spot on Dwayne Dedmon. It's not like they added a player into the roster. No, they tried to get below the tax. They got rid of Thibault because they didn't think they would re-sign him. And they brought in Dwayne Dedmon. And
then Doc was like, we have to get him minutes. We were like, no, you don't.
Yeah. No, I don't know whose decision that was, Doc or Morey more so, but yeah, that was just an awful, awful decision. And, we're really going to see this year, will Daryl Morey be able to add players? Will Nick Nurse have more of a say in the roster? Definitely things we can get into going forward.
Yeah. All right. So what Windhorse said on ESPN today, I had it up and then I forgot that I clicked on like my messages to see the thing that you were trying to send me. And now I can't find it.
My tweet if you want.
Yeah, let's do that.
I had it. The quote.
Yeah, here we go. Let's see. RB. I still can't believe the Sixers traded Mikal Bridges. Somebody told you to stop saying that.
Yeah, the guy said to me that back during that time, that was the correct move, and nobody thought it was an outlandish move.
Who said that?
This guy in the comments. And I said to him, he said it was wild. And I said, what's wild is that you're sitting here telling me that nobody thought it was a crazy move at the time.
That's a total lie. I remember when it happened. I remember I was at work and I asked somebody, hey, who'd the Sixers draft? And he said Mikal Bridges. And I was like, yes, that's the exact guy, bro. 3-and-D Villanova, 4-year college, NBA ready. That's the exact guy. And like 30 seconds earlier, he's like, hey, dude, they just traded him. And I was like, what? Yeah, no, that was totally outlandish.
Yeah, perfect fit. And, his mom worked in the organization. It was perfect. And, as a Nova fan who watched every Mikal Bridges game, I was so excited. And then, it just killed me. It really did. And it still does.
But I don't think it was, I honestly have gotten to the point where I don't think it was Brett Brown or Elton Brand. I think it was Josh Harris and his dumb billionaire friends that thought they knew what they were talking about. And they were, all those rumors came out that like Scott O'Neal was making decisions.
They didn't have a GM, really. I mean, after the burner accounts and all that. So he just kind of threw it together. And It just did not pan out, man.
No, that was bad. That will always haunt us. All right, so here's what Brian Windhorst said on ESPN. Daryl Morey has something up his sleeve. I wish I could tell you exactly what he's planning. Does that mean Brian knows what he's planning and he's not allowed to say it? Or is he saying, I don't know exactly what he's planning? And it says, I know enough to know he's got something going on. First of all, I wonder, I'm starting to wonder, okay, what has reporting like gotten to in today's internet age? I don't really know anymore what a report actually is, because it's really just people saying things now, right? It's just a guy on ESPN giving his opinion, and then it'll be like tweeted by NBA Central, and it'll get a 10 million tweets or 10,000 retweets, and they'll say, report Daryl Morey has something up his sleeve. But really, it was just Brian Windhorst saying, I think Daryl Morey probably might do this, possibly one. That's not a report at all. That's just a guy giving his opinion. Sometimes it'll come out and you find out it was Kendrick Perkins that said it. And I'm like, these are just people talking. So I guess, like, when did Brian Windhorst become the guy? And I like him. I think he's entertaining. I think he's funny, actually. I really do. But every other day he's saying something different. He just said the Sixers are not trading Tyrese Maxey. Now in this clip, he said the Sixers are making Tyrese Maxey valuable. That's what he said. The Sixers are making Tyrese Maxey valuable. And I'm like, so they're just on TV kind of saying something different every single day to get the clicks, to post the clips on YouTube, to get the things on, to get the tweets out and all this stuff. It's the age we live in. And I can't complain too much because that's what I'm doing every time they say something. So,
yeah. Well, in the case of you and I think people need to distinguish. We're reporting on the reports. And now, as outlandish as they may be, we're just reporting what we're hearing. But I agree with you in that, even Brian Windhorst said that the Sixers might trade Maxey. That's why they're not extending him. And then the next day he comes out and says, oh, well, the Sixers have no interest in trading Maxey. And then he says, oh, the Sixers have no interest in trading Tobias, et cetera, et cetera. And they're just going back and forth at this point. That's the point of the offseason we're at. Dame Lillard, James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, everything is just back and forth. And
is it all a media game now? And when he says something, then somebody from the Sixers front office like calls him up and is like, yo, no. Tomorrow say we're not trading Maxey. Why would you say we're trading Maxey? We're not. You know what I mean? Do you think that's how it's working?
Yeah, I think that is how it's working. And I think that you're right in that you got to really like look and analyze and like put on a magnifying glass in front of your eye and just look at what they're saying. Because like you said, sometimes it's just, well, I think that there could be an intriguing interest in bringing Damian Lillard to the Spurs. Like I remember Ramona Shelburne said, Damian Lillard is very fond of the Spurs organization. Okay, I'm fond of people that help the community and, give back. That doesn't mean anything. Like the reports have been insane. And I think we really just got to sit back, look at what's going on. And I've hinted at this in the recent days. The way that this Harden trade was reported, it is not accurate at all. It doesn't make sense. If you line up the events and the reports that have come out, it's starting to really make zero sense at all. I'm starting to wonder if Harden even requested a trade because he's out there at the Hamptons. He seemed fine to me. James didn't seem to have any problem. He's out there cooling with the guys.
Yeah, I don't think I think people, NBA reporters or whatever you want to call them, I think they paint this picture all the time like these players are so affected by these things. They'll be like, this player is disgruntled in the team that he is on. Like this player's walking around with a sad face every day. Like, dude, he has $300 million. He's out here with some kind of $5,000 sunglasses on at a billionaire party. He's not actually upset about anything in his life. He's just like, when it comes to basketball, I would probably like to do this. So yeah, I mean, I didn't make much of the Hamptons party thing. I don't really care that much. People were showing the Tobias and Joel like photos together and like they're running it back. Like, dude, what do you mean? There's a picture of like Usher and Kim Kardashian together. Does that mean they're dating? It's just a bunch of rich people in the same building and they're all friends. That doesn't mean they're running it back. That's you know what I mean? That's what I thought about it.
Yeah, I don't think we can take too much stock from it. I do think it's interesting, though, that, they were together. They seem to be fine. I think the issue is with Harden or his agency and the Sixers front office, which apparently has a lot of issues right now. And when it comes down to Brian Windhorst, I think they're just trying to stir the pot. because, it seems like they're trying to drive certain players to certain organizations. Even with Damian Lillard, like they're reporting that his agent said, don't trade for Dame unless you're Miami. Like, is that even legal at this
I know,
point?
like you're not allowed to handicap teams like that. Where's Adam Silver at?
Yeah,
These people are now handicapping the entire league.
it's a bad look. And let's be honest here. I mean, the Sixers are not favored amongst the NBA. They never have been. And if there's any way to stir up drama when it comes to Philadelphia, they're going to try to do that as much as possible. I mean, I don't think they, really like the Sixers ever since the tanking era. And I don't think that'll improve for a while.
Well, that sucks. So let's do a prediction then on this quote here. Daryl Morey has something up his sleeve. If you had to predict let's say Daryl Morey does have something up his sleeve. Let's say Brian Windhorst is right about this. Daryl Morey has something major up his sleeve. Just off the top, if you had to make a prediction of what it is.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Harden situation, because I think let's throw Brian's quote out the window. Let's think about this realistically. Daryl Morey always stands his ground. Like you said earlier, he will always just wait until he gets what he wants. So right now, Daryl Morey's looking at the situation, and I truly believe that James Harden threw a curveball in this situation, because I think that Daryl Morey expected to run this thing back with a new coach. He said right after the season, the Sixers need a new voice, a new leader, and they brought in Nick Nurse, which is a great move. And I think he expected to run this thing back. And then James Harden said, oh, well, I'm disgruntled, or his agency said it. And he said, okay, well, now we want to trade. We're going to opt in and try to, move forward with the intent of getting a trade. And I think Daryl Morey said, now I got to figure this thing out, but I'm kind of handicapped because I can't do much else. I don't think the Clippers are a trade partner because they don't want to get rid of Paul George or Kawhi. So then what, right? There's not really many stars out there. There's not really many value deals at all. And let's be honest, there's no interest in James Harden, because if there was, he would have opted out. The Rockets gave Fred VanVleet $43 million a year, which is asinine to me. What were they not giving James Harden? And if there were any other better deals, he would have opted out and took other deals. No, he opted in. And let's not forget, he still wants to earn another contract. So the fact that he wants to get traded, if he does, means that he wants to go to the right situation, and things are really bad right now between Harden and the front office. So bringing all that together, what does Daryl Morey do? I have one team in mind that I think has been underrated this whole time during the offseason. They haven't been talked about much, and I don't know what the heck they're doing, but it's the Chicago Bulls. So if I had to make a prediction, and my favorite trade would somehow end up being maybe like a 3 or 4 team mega deal, and the Sixers would end up landing Zach LaVine, and they would get Alex Caruso, and somehow James Harden would most likely get rerouted to either, the Clippers or probably Chicago. And they would end up giving DeMar DeRozan another kind of style of playmaker, because let's look at the Bulls, right? They signed Vucevic back, and they signed Javon Carter in free agency, who's very similar to Alex Caruso, but then they've been floating Zach LaVine in trade rumors. So I don't know what the Bulls are doing. Lonzo may never play again. So they're stuck right now. They can't win with that team.
No.
So maybe they try to go out, make a move, depart the LaVine contract and get rid of Caruso, given that he only has one more year. So that would be my bold trade prediction. The Sixers land Zach LaVine. I'm telling you right now, guys, the Sixers will not trade James Harden for anything less than a star. They're not taking Norm Powell and Robert Covington. That's not what Daryl Morey does. And that's why I said to begin the show, this thing could, extend out for a long time. This could get ugly if James Harden doesn't suck it up and return.
Yeah, I think I was going to say actually the exact same thing, because I think Zach LaVine is really the only, like, air quotes, star level player that is even really possible to end up in a trade package. And yeah, it would take several teams. But I think that is, if we're being realistic and we're trying to make a prediction of something that could actually happen, I think that is realistic, because Chicago's going nowhere. I've thought they needed to separate Zach LaVine and DeRozan for a while now. I think they're going to do that. I think Zach LaVine is one of those players that you can't really assess on a bad team. He looks like a shot chucker on a bad team, right? But on a team that has maybe a little bit more order and identity, not that the Sixers necessarily do, but I think under Nick Nurse, I think Nick Nurse will bring order and identity to a team. So I think maybe Zach LaVine could look a lot better than he looked in Chicago, where Chicago at times, especially without who they thought they were going to have, Lonzo Ball, without a real point guard, they kind of just looked like it was just a bunch of random nonsense. Two guys. It looked like pickup basketball most of the time. So I think Zach LaVine can look better than he looked like in Chicago. I think Zach LaVine to Philadelphia is one of the only really realistic scenarios for getting a James Harden trade off, because like you said, Daryl Morey's not going to accept pennies or, in his own words, random players. That's not going to happen. And it's going to have to be a name that Daryl Morey knows exists, which is, at least an all-star level player. So I think Zach LaVine is a realistic situation. And I think if that happens, if somehow you end the James Harden situation and you ended up with Zach LaVine and Alex Caruso, like you said, I think that's a win-win. I think that, I don't know if that makes you any more of a championship contender than you were with James Harden, but the James Harden situation has to end somehow. And I think if you get Zach LaVine back in the whole thing, I think that's a win for Daryl Morey, and it kind of saves his reputation a little bit. And then you see what Nick Nurse can do with maybe Tyrese Maxey at point guard, which, again, hasn't been much of a facilitator so far. There's a lot of things to think about if you don't have Harden on the team anymore. But I think that's probably the most realistic. Another thing, it was funny that you said James to Chicago. If James Harden gets traded to Chicago, he's walking into Chicago literally looking like Mark Henry. There is no way anyone is telling James Harden that he's playing for the Chicago Bulls. I'm telling you right now, he won't do it. He might retire.
Yeah, I mean, see, that's where this differs, though, from the Ben Simmons situation, because Simmons had 3 years left on the contract. James Harden is trying to earn another contract. So if he walks into Chicago and says, I'm not playing, well, guess what, James? Pack it up. You might be done. You're not getting another contract. If they wouldn't pay you now, what are they going to pay you in a year if you don't prove your value? And I think James would be restricted, but I agree. I don't think he'd want to play in Chicago, especially, with that team as it is right now. Billy Donovan has had issues, with Zach LaVine. And really the reason that I think this deal would make a lot of sense is because DeRozan's going into the last year of a deal. James Harden would be on a player option. That's another thing, by the way. That's why I don't understand how this has been reported. It's not like James Harden can go somewhere and sign a 4-year extension. No, he has to play this year on a player option. So it's going to have to be the perfect situation. And the Bulls could end up clearing a lot of cap space after this upcoming year with Harden and DeRozan. But the thing that doesn't make me understand is, why would they sign Vucevic back on a 3-year extension? That's what makes me feel like they don't know what they're doing. And Lonzo may never play. They applied for the disabled player exception. He's not going to play the whole year. Chicago's in a tough spot, and they're really throwing me off. But I think this trade would make a lot of sense for both teams.
Is James Harden really looking for another contract? Like, I know obviously he would like to. I know he would like to. What I'm saying is, once you get to a certain level of money in your career and you kind of show people that you're not 1,000% dedicated to winning, when you're going to Vegas in the middle of the playoffs to sell a wine bottle, whatever it was, when you're constantly flying back to Houston and hanging out in strip clubs with rappers and stuff like that. I'm just saying, like, is James Harden maybe just kind of content with it? Is he maybe just like, all right, I'm done. I just don't get the vibe that he actually cares that much, especially, I don't know, man. I don't want to be super judgmental, but I see these dudes like this that just, they show up in these insane, runway fashion outfits. And I don't get the vibe that he actually cares too much about winning in the NBA or earning another contract. I don't know. I just think it's not like they need to keep making money. It's not like us, it's not like us. If my job's about to end, I got to work on getting another job, because it's not like us. These dudes have so much money. It's not like he needs another contract.
Well, at that point, I would refute that by saying, well, why doesn't he stay in Philly? I mean, he's said all along the last year and a half that his last goal is to put, the ring on his finger. And, he has the whole resume. He's one of the greatest 75 players ever. And he said, my last goal is to win a championship. And if he didn't care about winning, then why would he, or I'm sorry, if he didn't care about getting paid, why would he try to push himself out, doing all this? And in fact, that he has to play on a player option to try to earn another deal. Like, the reports are that he wanted to go back to Houston. They don't even want him. So he wants to go back home to LA, but he wants to play with superstars, or he wants, to find a place where he can earn that next contract. And it's just very confusing to me because you have a great situation here. You have another year to build chemistry with Joel Embiid. Even though we don't like to hear it, they were once again very, very close to the conference finals. They've been close. The year before, if he doesn't get injured, maybe they're in the conference finals. But at the end of the day, James Harden is trying to earn that next contract, and he doesn't think that Philly is going to be that spot to do it based on the reporting. And I don't know what the Sixers offered him, but my best guess would be a 2-year with an option. And that's all I would go as well, because you don't want to invest long-term into James Harden. He wants a 3-4-year deal. The fact of the matter is that he gets hurt a lot and he hasn't shown up in the biggest games when it matters. I know we had 2 great games in the Celtics series, but one game in which I was there in person, he single-handedly lost the game. And in game 6 and game 7, he was putrid. And that's just the fact of the matter. That has been the tag that has stuck with him his entire career.
Yeah, I guess I don't mean to say that Harden doesn't care, or he'll retire tomorrow if he doesn't get what he wants or something like that. I think James Harden wants hold on, my camera turned off real quick. I think James Harden wants what's best for James Harden, attention wise. Like the whole, Doc didn't let me play my freestyle of ball and like all this stuff. I think James Harden is still trying to go somewhere where it's going to be all about James Harden. And you saw that he still tries to play sometimes like he did when he was 25, and he doesn't have that elevation and that burst anymore. And he didn't adapt his game to really slowing down physically or anything like that. I think James Harden still wants to be the star of the show so everybody can say, look what James Harden did tonight. And he realized that Nick Nurse coming in here and this maybe being a more motion style offense, maybe Maxey plays a bigger role. Maybe James needs to take a step back and just be part of the offense. I don't think he likes that. He wants it to be the James Harden show. It can't be the James Harden show anymore because he's just not as good as he used to be to make it the James Harden show and actually get deep into the playoffs. But I think that's what he wants. He just wants it to be the James Harden show, and he's like, it's not going to happen in Philly. I'll go to Houston. And Houston was like, And, I guess maybe the Clippers are the last option. I don't know. But I think it's a level of like James not really recognizing that he's not. I think he still thinks he's a superstar. And when things go wrong, he's kind of blaming other things like, oh, well, Doc didn't let me play my style of ball. But no, dude, we watched it, man. You had the worst field goal percentage in the paint in the last 25 years. Doc Rivers didn't do that. You did that.
Yeah. And the last, couple weeks or after Doc Rivers firing, there were a lot that came out about their conversations. Even Doc alluded to it when he was on Bill Simmons' podcast, and he talked about some of the rifts that they went through, and, they didn't see eye to eye, which is perfectly fine. But I think what it comes down to is James Harden wants to be rewarded, compensated for taking a pay cut last year and playing, as a really good teammate and adapting his style, which he did. And I give him a lot of credit for. The thing is, when the Sixers once again have failed to reach their goal or to even get past the same point for the 5th straight year, and they have really no other way to get better as a team, this is a business, James. We can't go out there and give you a 4-year max contract unless you prove to us that you can help us get to the finals. And the team just has not done that. And I'm actually really happy that Daryl Morey finally stood his ground for once and, separated that friendship, because a couple years ago, Daryl Morey and his whole career would do anything for James Harden. This time he said, no, like, we can't do that, James. We're trying to get better. We're restricted with other areas. The Tobias contract is hanging over us. You're taking a 1-year deal. And if this thing doesn't pan out and we try to run it back, we're going to clear a lot of cap space with you and Tobias, and we're going to build around Maxey and Embiid. And I think that's where the Sixers are, and I think it's the right way to go. but the fan base definitely is frustrated. And based on this, I guess, hostage situation, it's hard to improve anywhere else.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to do off-season grades so far?
Yeah, go ahead, take it away.
All right. So your grade for the Philadelphia 76ers off-season so far.
Drop them in the chat as well, man. Drop those comments in the chat.
Drop your grades in the chat. You want me to go first?
You go first.
Oh man. So far, a lot of things could still happen, but as of right now, this is an F for me. This is an F for me so far. The Philadelphia 76ers offseason has been an F. You know, you lost McDaniels. You traded Thibault and a pick for McDaniels. McDaniels walks. You didn't match the $4.5 million. Then you gotta move money somehow. We're thinking Tobias Harris is gone. We're thinking Harden might be gone. Nothing's happening. We sat around and sat through the draft. You're sitting. Other teams are making moves left and right. You're just sitting still. There may be offers out there that are being offered that Daryl Morey's saying no to, like all the rumors in the Ben Simmons situation. You're making jokes on Twitter with the crumble cookie thing, trolling the fans who are legitimately pissed off. This is probably not the time to be trying to make jokes on Twitter. And then you go sign Mo Bamba, you Pat Bev, even the Shake Milton thing. Shake Milton walks. I didn't think Shake Milton was some kind of high-level NBA player. I thought he was a serviceable backup point guard for 10, 12 minutes a game. I thought he could run a half court. I thought he had skills in the pick and roll and could slow down and control the game. And so Shake walks, and somebody posted the projected depth chart, and Pat Bev is listed as the backup point guard. Is that a real thing? Is Pat Beverley considered a point guard?
Yeah.
So you lose a guy in Shake Milton who can run a pick and roll. This is crazy to me. Pat Bev? I like Pat Bev's attitude. I like his tenacity. But I think we have that in PJ Tucker. I don't need two of those guys. I don't even really like the Patrick Beverley signing for specific reasons. Not because I don't think Patrick Beverley won't be a good energy guy in Philly, and Philly's going to love him, and I'm going to love watching him, and he's very entertaining, and he's a hard-nosed guy, and he brings that to a locker room. But when you already have PJ Tucker, who kind of the dog mentality thing is his main skill at this point in his career, like he's kind of a little bit overrated because of the dog mentality, and now you add another one of those guys that really realistically doesn't have much left to offer a team skill-wise on the NBA floor, but he has a dog mentality. So now we have two guys with dog mentalities that really aren't that good. I don't understand that. And then the Mo Bamba thing is just, again, that's cool, but I don't care. It's an F so far. Daryl Morey has to do something, but it's an F for me.
Man, yeah. I mean, you got really good points there, valid points. I'm gonna go with a D minus, like in between those. And the only reason that I'm giving them not an F is because they brought in, I think, the best coaching candidate in Nick Nurse. They acted quick. They got their guy of the future, who I think is going to really help this team out. And, I think Nick Nurse is a positive impact. And again, this is a very early edition. They still have a long way to go. But right now, I don't see much change happening. And it is frustrating. You want things to happen. I live streamed the entire draft. The biggest, notable thing that night was the draft board mystery at 4 hours, 45 minutes into the stream.
I forgot about that.
We're analyzing the draft board in terms of what it means. And then, we have the whole James Harden situation. And we thought that we were finally trending towards getting rid of the expiring salary in Tobias Harris, which could really help right now with the new CBA constraints, to another team. And that's not going to happen. The James Harden thing seems to be stuck in the mud. And you're not signing Tyrese Maxey right now to an extension. Who knows where that could line up? Hopefully it could create more cap space next offseason Joel Embiid's probably frustrated as heck at this point. And, I'm watching Summer League. Jaden Springer seems to be the same person. It doesn't seem like anybody in this organization stresses developing a jump shot. And that's where we're at. They didn't have any draft picks. They didn't have anything. So once again, you got to the second round, deep into the second round, should have probably won it and failed to do so. But this time you've taken a huge step back. You lost some of your free agents. You let the one guy go that you traded for midseason, and the GM is trolling on Twitter. Really, the only positive thing is that Nick Nurse is the coach of this team. I believe in him. And I actually will say I do like Pat Bev in terms of the energy. I think he will actually bring some defense to the bench. He's a very gritty on-ball defender, and I think he's going to go nuts. I listened to his podcast episode. The first charge that he takes, the building is going to erupt. He's going to love this city. But in terms of on-the-court value production, there's just not much left. That's why he's been cut or waived or traded, and they signed Mo Bamba. And I just can't figure it out. Are they even going to sign Paul Reed? That's where I'm at this point. And this has been probably the most confusing offseason. I'd argue it may be even the most frustrating because it feels like you're so close. You add the new coach, and right now you have not anything else. And I am at a loss, of thoughts. I don't know what else to say.
So we got an F and a D minus.
Yes.
Big Mike, I saved this because I wanted to read it. Bamba is okay since Joel misses 35 games a season. Mo Bamba misses more than that, bro. He's played like 40 games a season his whole career. He's so injury prone.
And something I want to add on as well is that I'm getting a lot of comments. Oh, the Sixers can finally move Paul Reed to his natural position. I don't know how many times I have to say this or what your thoughts are on this, but Paul Reed cannot play the 4 until the guy can shoot a basketball. And it sucks. I love Paul Reed. I don't know how much they're going to pay him. Probably, I would say, like in the $6 to $8 million range. But he has to develop an offensive game. Jaden Springer hasn't developed at all offensively. Is Paul Reed going to come back with the same wonky jumper? He's a great energy guy, rebounding, athleticism, all that. But he can't play the 4 unless he can play offense. I'm sorry, he has no offensive game. We have to be realistic about these things.
Right. Yeah, and that's why I think Paul Reed's always been just a perfect backup 5. I don't understand the big deal. He can't play offense. It doesn't matter. You put him in the game for 10 minutes at backup center. He dives on the floor. He gets a steal. He gets a block. Catches a lob. He does some weird behind the back 360 layup. It's but yeah, I don't. People are in my comments too saying Paul Reed's not a center, and I'm like, when did this start? But I don't care that he's 6'8". He's the highest. He's the highest rebound per 36. He has the highest rebound percentage behind Andre Drummond. I don't care if he's 6'8". He's an animal. He's a center.
Yeah. And Sixer fans, I get it. They're trying to cope at this point. Like, for example, there's a comment in the chat and somebody just said Paul Reed has a jump shot, but was unable to use it under Doc Rivers. Like, we need to start being realistic. What do you mean he can't use a jump shot under Doc Rivers? These guys need to get better themselves. They need to push themselves, but
we can't blame everything on coaching.
Right. And there's been no development with this team, whether it's Simmons or Thibault or, Springer, whatever it is. Like, how come these guys on other teams show up the summer league and they're 10 times better already? And the Sixers guys seem to just be in the same rhythm all the time. It's very frustrating. They need to develop from within.
Listen, I love Paul Reed. I love Paul Reed too. But when we talk about a jump shot, and there's been players in the history of the game that have really bad looking jump shots that made it work. Sean Marion is one that always stands out to me. But for the most part, if you see an NBA player shoot the ball and their jump shot form looks like Paul Reed's, they're just never going to be a jump shooter. He's just never going to be a shooter. He's just not. It looks absolutely horrendous when he shoots the ball. And it's never going to be a consistent thing that consistently goes in the rim. Sometimes he'll make a shot. We'll be like, oh my God, a Paul Reed jumper. But realistically, other times it's like a air ball's 10 feet over the rim. It's never going to be a consistent jump shot. People need to stop thinking that Paul Reed can be a consistent jump shooter. It's not a thing. Jump shooting is not a thing that you learn when you're 25 either. It's not. You learn it when you're 12. It's you can't teach an old dog new tricks. You learn to shoot that way coming up. That's pretty much what's going to happen. I think we always have this thought that like, oh, if this guy just I just reminded myself of a situation, the Ben Simmons. If this guy just develops a jump shot, that's not a thing that generally happens. You don't just, all you got to do is develop a jump shot. I don't see Paul Reed playing a 4. He's a 5. I love him at the 5. I love him at the backup 5. And I think that's where he should be. That's why I don't care much about the Mo Bamba thing. And if it is another Montrezl Harrell Paul Reed situation, that would be annoying. I think Mo Bamba's a lot better than Montrezl Harrell. Mo Bamba can shoot the ball when he's healthy. He's a shot blocker. He's a 7-footer, 7'10" wingspan. I'm not saying Mo Bamba is a guy that you don't want on your team at your disposal on the end of your bench. And being a number 6 overall pick and still being pretty young, maybe he has more to give than he's been able to show so far in his career. So maybe he could surprise people. But I just think having 3 centers and not really solving any of the other issues doesn't really do anything for you. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and if I had to ask the people out there, like, who's going to be the wings on this team, there is no answer right now. There literally is no answer. We came into the offseason. Whatever happens with the Harden situation, fine. You have to trade Tobias to make this team better. I mean, we've said it for years. This is probably the best time to be able to do it, and it seems like they don't want to do that. They want to run this thing back. Do I think Tobias can be better under Nick Nurse? Yes. But it just seems very unserious in terms of the approach. It doesn't seem like there is an approach. We came to this offseason expecting something to happen, and everybody's on edge, and it doesn't seem like they're doing anything. And that is the worst part. Now, we're not sitting up here saying that Joel Embiid doesn't need to be better himself. He absolutely does. Maxey has to take the next leap, etc. But you still have to surround these guys with some of those depth pieces. For example, the Nuggets last offseason, I made the mistake of criticizing them when they signed Bruce Brown and traded for KCP. Those are the exact type of pieces under the radar that you have to pick up. And it's just, I'm not seeing it right now.
Yeah, I have hope that there's going to be a blockbuster something. I have hope that there's going to be a blockbuster something. If there's a blockbuster something and it's not, and it doesn't include the 76ers, then, I'll be all the way out. If Damian Lillard ends up on another team and, and Zach LaVine ends up on another team, if a lot of these players that everyone expects to be moved end up being moved and James Harden is not one of them, then I will be like, okay, I don't know what we're doing and this is over. So as I'm still holding out hope that there's going to be a major something happen in the NBA and the Sixers are going to be a part of it. It's the only thing that seems realistic to me and would explain why we kind of haven't done anything yet. That's.
Let me ask you this.
That's what I'm hoping for. Let
me ask you this, and shout out to the super chat as well. But are we getting to the point now? And I know people are probably going to get on me in the comments, and I don't want to hear this. Is the best approach for this team punting this season, trading Harden and Tobias, clearing a ton of cap space, getting another big slot next summer, and finally building this team the right way around Maxey and Embiid? The positives are, again, that you can finally get off these bad contracts. You can hopefully play a little more freely and try to, build around Maxey and Embiid better and, maybe have more athletic guys, quicker players, et cetera. Maybe even throw Tucker into a deal. But the bad thing is that, again, Embiid just came off an MVP. His value is the highest it's at right now, and he's in his prime, and he's trying to compete. But part of me almost feels just a little bit that this team is trying to position themselves to potentially do that and try to build out for the future. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree that I think that is the best thing to do. And when people say, listen, if you trade Harden, you're worse. And I'm not disagreeing with that. I don't think we're disagreeing with that. What we're saying is you're not any better by keeping these contracts on your roster. You're not a championship team with James Harden right now. I don't think you are. I don't think Nick Nurse is gonna change anything that much without a deep roster or at least some wing depth, at least some balance. I think the roster, it has issues right now. I don't think it's a championship roster with James Harden. So if it's not a championship roster with James Harden, then yeah, you trade him. You clear cap space with him and Tobias for next offseason. And yeah, you go into this season knowing maybe this isn't a championship roster. But again, if you don't make these trades, you're going into the season kind of knowing this probably isn't a championship roster. So why not start to get a head start on, clearing the cap space and moving forward with Tyrese Maxey and Embiid? I think I completely agree with that. People don't like to take a step back. They
Right.
think because we were that close to beating the Boston Celtics that Nick Nurse can get us that little bit of edge. But other teams are also getting better. I don't know how possible it is for Damian Lillard to end up in Boston, but because he's convinced on Miami, he wants Miami. They're at a standstill right now. But if Jason Tatum can convince him, hey, bro, listen, all right, you might not want to live in the city of Boston. It's fine. You can live in Miami, just fly to practice, whatever it is. If you join me in Boston, we are winning a championship. And the Celtics offered Jaylen Brown and some other Malcolm Brogdon, maybe something that there's going to have to be like salary matching things and stuff like that. But I think if Dame would accept Boston as an option, the Boston Celtics would have one of the best offers for Damian Lillard. And if that would happen, the Sixers sat around and now the Celtics are the clear championship favorites and we're punting anyway. What do you think the possibilities are of Dame landing in Boston?
I don't think there's a possibility. I think he'll end up in Miami, so that will boost the Miami Heat, who just were in the NBA Finals. Boston got better by adding Porzingis. Milwaukee brought all their core back, and they added Malik Beasley on a minimum. These other teams are getting better. The Sixers are kind of just in a standstill. And when you look at all of it in entirety, really the main thing that I don't think people talk about in trading Harden and Tobias would be, let's finally get some draft capital. Even if you bring back Rocco, Norm Powell, etc., try to get a couple first-round picks. How about that? So we can build in the draft. I'm not making this comparison, I promise. But look at the Nuggets, right? They got the superior center, and they got the dominant, versatile point guard. What could the Sixers end up potentially doing down the road? Have the center, the point guard, maybe try to get some guys that fit better, more athletic players, more Nick Nurse-like players, 3-and-D guys, which they really still have never had.
Catch and shoot guys.
Yeah, guys that can, a Michael Porter Jr. or a KCP. Can we put that out there and actually draft one for once? Can we actually put these players out there and actually hit on the right guys instead of drafting a top tier defender, absolute ball hawk? Can we just draft a guy that can shoot 45% from three in college? Can we just do that? And
I don't know how. No, go ahead. Finish your point.
No, yeah, I was just saying, I just don't understand how we continue to shy away from those type of players. It's crazy.
It's been that specific player. We were making jokes years ago that the Sixers haven't had a Lou Williams since Lou Williams. Like, where are the basketball players? Where are the dudes that can just dribble, pass, and shoot? Where are the Cam Thomas type of players? Where are the Bruce Brown type of players? Where are these just basketball players that every other team seems to find? Where are they? Why don't we have it?
You have to find these hidden gems. And, not to bring up bad memories, but Isaiah Joe was a perfect example of that. I thought he could have been that perfect type of player. Don't know if you've been watching a lot of Summer League. One guy that I'm watching right now, Terquavion Smith. Not saying he's going to be a great role player or star down the road. You can just tell. Like, it's so refreshing watching Turk. I call him Turk because he actually can dribble the ball, has great vision, and can score off the bounce. He reminds me a little bit of Tyrese Maxey. Like, when you watch Maxey, it's so breathtaking because the Sixers franchise just hasn't had players like that. They don't draft players like that. When you watch Maxey, it's just refreshing. When I watch Terquavion Smith, it's refreshing. Now, whether he can put on muscle and be that type of player, you're looking at it down the road. Isaiah Joe was a perfect guy and opportunity there. When he got the actual chance to play, look what he did in a short amount of time. The Sixers just, either don't draft the right players or don't develop the guys that they draft. And they need some of those better role players, and they just haven't had it.
Yeah, I think at least hopefully Terquavion Smith gets an opportunity at like some NBA minutes to see.
I hope so. He could play.
See if it looks different, to see if it translates to the NBA level. Because at the same time, I get like Mariel Shayok vibes. Like, I just get when we say a player looks, all of these skills look this good. Yeah. I just, you never know until they play in the NBA. The defense is just The defense is just faster, taller, bigger, quicker, better, higher IQ, all that type of stuff. So, but I do think we need to give young guys like that at least put them on the damn floor for 5 minutes in the middle of November, please.
Very true.
Doc's gone. Doc would never do that. He would never consider doing that. That was one of the craziest things about him I couldn't understand. I'm like, why won't you experiment at all?
Doesn't make any sense. It took him to his dying day to get Paul Reed out there on the floor, and we know that whole story. Even a guy like Jaden Springer, though, it's frustrating as heck because these type of players that we're talking about, Springer could be that player. If he can just shoot the ball, average, yeah, I mean, his defense is off the charts. Like, watching the way that he can read some of these, opposing facilitators, it's amazing, but he can't shoot a lick. And it's been the same story over and over. And I know he's only 20. It's crazy. He's only 20. Can he just develop a jump shot? He'd be a perfect piece you put right in there.
I think that helps my point of the NBA being different than these other leagues, because in the G League, I think he had 7 3-pointers in the G League finals game where he dropped 41 points and got him to the championship game and then won finals MVP. And I was like, oh my God, Jaden Springer can shoot. Now he's good. And then he plays on just the summer league level, and it's totally different. That's how much different even the summer league is from the G League. But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see with some of these guys. I guess we have hope though that Nick Nurse at least, and Toronto fans feel differently. They say that Nick Nurse never gave anyone a chance either, and it's Doc Rivers 2.0. But I think him coaching the summer league team, he's really looking at young guys. He's really looking at kind of trying to change everything from the inside out, from the bottom up. And I think you're going to see younger guys at least get some opportunities to show if maybe they can help, especially with us lacking, like players like that. A shout out to Robert Dredden, man. Thanks for the super chat. It's been a while. Haven't forgot about you. I'm a husband and a father of 2. Shout out to that. Let's go Sixers. Make a move. And how about them fighting Phils? All the best. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. I haven't been watching baseball at all this season, to be honest with you. I get into that. I'm a fair weather fan. I'm like those fans that start watching the Sixers right before the playoffs. That's me with the Phillies. I start watching it right before the playoffs. That's just what I do. What else? So the Damian Lillard thing. How does he end up in Miami? Because they're at a standstill right now because Portland waited too long. This is what happens when you wait too long. This is come back to this in a couple years. Exactly what the Sixers are going to do with Joel Embiid. They're going to wait too long. They waited too long with Iverson. Every franchise waits too long. Owners don't want to sell their ticket seller. They don't want to trade away their ticket seller. That's the end of the day. That's what it is. Portland rode, Damian Lillard as long as they could to keep the interest in the Portland Trailblazers. Let's be honest. So they wait too long. Now he requests a trade. They expect to get a haul. If Rudy Gobert went for 5 first-round picks, they're sitting there saying, we better get 3 young players and 9 first-round draft picks for Damian Lillard. And they're getting offered Tyler Hero and 2 firsts. They're not getting they're saying no. They're straight up saying no to that. And now he has to send his agent out there saying, like, tell everyone else don't trade for me. I want to go to Miami. And they're in a battle, but the front office is like, we're not taking Tyler Hero and 2 firsts for Damian freaking Lillard, dude. So what do they do? How does he even end up in Miami? It doesn't make any sense to me. Who budgeted?
I don't know. I think it's going to end up as like a 3 or 4 team deal to add more compensation. But yeah, this is where the league's in a tough spot because you had Bradley Beal, who had a no trade clause. And I told you when that contract happened, it was the worst other than Ben Simmons' contract. He essentially just forced his way. He said, trade me to Phoenix or, whatever. Like, I don't care about you guys. And now we're kind of in the same situation with Damian Lillard. And the Dame thing really ticks me off because Beal had a no trade clause, to be fair. Damian Lillard does not have a no trade clause. No, he has been running it back every year. Yes, we're going to build around me. I mean, the Blazers signed Jeremy Grant to a 5-year, $160 million deal the night before. And then out of nowhere, the change of emotion. I'm done. Trade me. Now they have a contract they don't want. They have a nice young core, but like you said, they're trying to get a haul of assets, and Dame just doesn't really care. He wants to be in Miami, and it's really annoying kind of as a basketball fan watching these guys just say, well, you know what, trade me here. Like, I know we're not in the era anymore of like building camaraderie with one group for a long time, but the fact that this, era where these guys can just say, I want out, I'm not playing, trade me to this team, and you can get whatever you want. It's just ridiculous. And
Yeah.
I like the Blazers GM saying, no. Why don't you trade him to Detroit or something? Get better assets. Why not? Like, all right, they can get Jaime Jaquez and Nikola Jovic and 2 first rounders. That's not enough for Dame Lillard. The Blazers have a chance. They have a real shot to surround Scoot and Anthony Simons and Shaden Sharp with a really good core. And just because you want to go to Miami, now that you don't want to run from the grind, doesn't mean anything, man. Like, they don't have to trade you, and I wouldn't until I get what I want.
Well, yeah, but that's what's wrong with the NBA right now, because this player is sending his agent out there to tell other teams, don't trade for him because he doesn't want to play for you.
Right.
And the NBA has to figure out a way to make this player play for whatever team he plays for. That's how parity happens in a sports league. That's how teams like the Portland Trailblazers or the Oklahoma City Thunder or whoever else that doesn't have a major market is able to get talent to stay competitive. Otherwise, you just have the Yankees and the Red Sox every year. You know what I mean? It's not good for the league for these players to just be like, you know what, I want to go to Miami, trade me to Miami. I'm not going to play for Boston. I'm not going to play for whoever else you send me to. So send me where I want, because you just have a couple major markets to keep getting all the good players, and it's bad for the league. How does the league figure out how to get these players to buy in to a team that they're traded to keep like parity in the NBA? You know what I mean? There's got to be something in the contract. Like, look, your last year is $68 million. If you refuse to play for the team you get traded to, you don't get your money. How about that? You have to play to get the money that was on the contract that you signed, that you said you were going to play to get the money.
Exactly.
I thought Ben Simmons ended this.
Yeah, no, I thought so too. And then based on the new CBA, if you really like start to look deep into it, I think what we're going to see is more homegrown super teams. I don't think we're going to see a lot of like, three big man, super teams down the road, which is why I'm kind of confused that the Phoenix Suns are going all in like they are. I don't know if you know this, but the Phoenix Suns don't own a draft pick until the next decade. They don't own a draft pick till 2030. So if it doesn't work out, and in a couple years, they're going to be very much above the tax, and they have no future. So I don't understand why they did that.
Kevin Durant effect, man. They traded one of their best young 3-and-D players who,
right.
we should have had on our roster. But yeah, for a big name, Kevin Durant, who I don't think at this point in his career makes you that much better than Mikal Bridges actually made you. I don't think Kevin Durant, I know that's crazy to say, but I think in the grand scheme of things right now, yeah, Game 7 playoffs, I'm giving the ball to Kevin Durant. But I think in the long run, Mikal Bridges is a very good player to have on your team. I don't think you need a Kevin Durant, but they went all in on big names.
Yeah, and they have Kevin Durant. They still have Ayton on the roster. And then they go get Bradley Beal. And on the first day of free agency, they had to surround that core with, 6 vet minimum players. Like, just guys that, would barely scratch an NBA bench. So it's going to be very interesting.
I can't wait to watch the Phoenix Suns, man. That's going to be amazing, dude. Watch Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant just fight over the ball and them just not even have it. Like, there's only one ball.
And if one of them goes down, then you don't really have much looking forward to. But I just think, the way that they fix it is, like you said, they have to really like kind of hammer down on these contracts, which they kind of have, but not enough. But yeah, if Dame doesn't want to go to Detroit or San Antonio, they can't trade for him because he's not going to play. And it's very lousy.
Is he not going to play though? Is he going to sit out? Because that's what Ben did and he lost $20 million. Is he really going to be like, hey, I'm not playing for you, I won't show up? Then you don't get your money. At the end of the day, you still have to play to get your money.
Yeah, kind of. But at the end of the day, it's also like, all right, so we just traded 5 first-round picks and you're not going to play. So you can not get your money, but we're also screwed because we just gave up our future to get you. It's very annoying. And I got to be completely honest with you. Like, Damian Lillard is becoming one of my most hated players in the league. I loved him. He's one of my favorites to watch outside of the Sixers. I just can't stand him anymore. The way that he has done this whole approach has really turned me off the Dame. I wanted to see him on the biggest stage. He's going to be, 34, I think? And he
33.
In 2 years, he has a $63 million player option. Who wants to give up everything for that? And he's out here acting like he can control the entire league. Oh, it's my time. Now that my prime is up, trade me, because the Blazers re-signed Jeremy Grant for $32 million a year. And I don't, they didn't
You know
trade
what?
Scoot Henderson. So get me out of here and send me to South Beach, where I said I don't want to go to the grind. I want to run from the grind. And now I'm running from the grind. So crazy.
You know what? Also, Damian Lillard. Yeah, this I'm gonna go where I want because I'm this good. You're not LeBron James. You're not LeBron James in his prime. You have to be that good to really make that happen. And being that good is elevating everybody around you. Every team LeBron James has ever been on has been a good team. Like in 99% of the time. I'm just saying, like, for most of his career, he's elevated players around him. It was a very rare combination of skill and facilitating ability. And that's why a player like that is that valuable. Damian Lillard has never made the Portland Trailblazers much better. Cool. You average 32 points per game. Are you a floor raiser? Do you make the players around you better? Have you taken a team that shouldn't have been as good as they are and took them somewhere that you feel like they shouldn't have been? Look what Damian Lillard does. He drugged this team to the Western Conference Finals. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. I don't think you're LeBron James, Damian Lillard. I think you're a great scorer. I don't think you get to say the league now is run on me. I'm the new LeBron James and I want to go to Miami and everybody has to listen to me.
Yeah, it's just with the timing of it all. And somebody in the chat said you can't blame Dame for wanting to leave. I'm not blaming him for wanting to leave. I'm blaming him for doing it 4 years too late and saying that, this whole spiel about running from the grind, for the last however long is now not upheld. And now you want to get out when it's convenient and you only want to go to one place. And it's annoying.
Why'd you stay in Portland your whole career, dude?
Yeah,
Why?
you should have got out when they traded McCollum. I mean, we've seen the writing on the wall for how long? Did you really think that the Blazers were going to surround you with 2 other stars and go all in? Nobody wants to go to Portland. All right. Nobody wants to play for the Blazers. I'm sorry. And I don't know. I just think the timing of it is it's annoying. It is.
What free agent out there can we sign that will excite you guys? I say PJ Washington. I don't want Dame. He's acting weird. Complete 180 personality. The Sixers can't land Dame anyway because Portland wants what they think they deserve in a Damian Lillard trade, and the Sixers definitely don't have that unless it includes Tyrese Maxey and some other teams involved and things like that. So who knows? I could be totally wrong. Maybe Daryl Morey pulls the trigger and trades Tyrese Maxey, and there's 4-team trade, and Dame ends up, but he doesn't want to be in Philly. So no, the Sixers can't get Dame anyway.
Yeah. 2 big free agents. I was going to say, I'm getting this one a lot. Kelly Oubre. You got to hope that he can bring out that potential that he showed a couple years ago in Charlotte. I mean, one point he was in the running for 6th man of the year. Nice wing, can hopefully knock down, from a high clip. But then again, I mean, Kelly Oubre's had his ups and downs. I mean, I don't know if he moves the needle. You have to really hope that he's kind of one of those, they signed Kelly Oubre, kind of hidden gems, and then he has one of his best years. And the other guy I'm seeing a lot, which I'm very surprised, especially on my Mo Bamba content, people want Bol on this team. Like, there's a huge
is that real or are they joking?
No, this is serious. There's like the amount of comments that I've received saying get Bol in the Sixers is very, very surprising to me. And I just don't really understand why. Like, you want to add another big. I'm not saying Bol is not talented or is not more talented than Mo Bamba, but why? Why get some wings on this team?
Yeah, Kelly Oubre, in my opinion. So because the Sixers have no wings, yeah, that'd be fine. Sign Kelly Oubre. But people that see was a pretty high draft pick out of Kansas. I remember when he was playing for Kansas, he was one of the top NBA prospects. He doesn't really move the needle at all. You're right. But yeah, because we don't have any wings, sure, sign Kelly Oubre. That's just whatever to me. But people that are going to overrate him, I want to tell you this. Kelly Oubre, to me, is one of those players that you see the highlights. You see the running for 6th man of the year that year in Charlotte. He's one of those players that when you're forced to watch him every single night, you're going to hate him.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to hate him because he's hot. He's just that hot and cold player. He's going to drop 30, and then he's literally going to shoot 1 for 13 and have 5 turnovers and just do some boneheaded things. And he's just that kind of player. He's a firecracker type of player. He's a Paul Reed type of player. He's
Exactly.
he would fit in that black Air Force One lineup, I guess. But I know Kelly Oubre doesn't move the needle at all. But if you don't have any wings, sure, go ahead. But yeah, I think he's a player that once you watch him every night, Philly will be over Kelly Oubre pretty quickly.
Absolutely. And here comes the chat, with the Bull stand comments. But let me tell you guys something. So I'm looking at Bull stats. Last year on the Orlando Magic, he averaged 9 points a game in about 22 minutes off the bench. I mean, he started 33 games for the Magic. Keep in mind, the Magic were probably the worst show on earth last year. They were awful. I mean, they were just not entertaining. The only entertainment for the Magic is when Mo Bamba had 7 threes in the first half against the Sixers. Other than that, they have not done much at all. And, the people are saying that he's a long 3 or 4 and he can create a shot. That's great, but he's shooting 26% from deep over the last 2 years. We're talking about a 7-footer. Yes, he's a freak athleticism guy. He's not really moving the needle, man. And to bring another guy in like that, I just don't see the fit. I don't see the need. We're getting desperate. I understand. But to me, Bol is not at all a fit for this team.
Much better fit than anybody on our team. I don't win.
I'm telling you, they're coming crazy with the Bol takes. I don't get it. I liked Bol out of college, but we're getting to that point. Something needs to happen.
Philly Reese, what up, man? Shout out to the 215. Oubre averaged 20 last year. LOL. Come on, Eastwood. Okay, listen.
On the Hornets.
Listen. Averaging 20 points per game does not make you a good player. On the Hornets, exactly. Let me tell you who averaged 19 points per game 1 year for the Philadelphia 76ers. Tony Wroten. Okay? So Tony Wroten, so were other teams like, oh, we gotta get Tony Wroten because he averaged. No, he stunk. But he was playing for the tanking Sixers and he was shooting 26 shots a game. I'm just saying that doesn't matter that much that you average 20 on Charlotte. He's a good player. He's a good enough to average 20 points per game on a bad team in the NBA. But it doesn't help the Sixers. That's what I'm saying.
And another thing I'll say is these guys that are being proposed for signings, you know why they're still available? Because they're not that good. If they were good, they would have been gone in the first hour of free agency, like the 50 other players.
Yeah, we're just trying to answer the question, who are players that we could sign that would make us better? And the answer right now is just like, there's not really an answer to that. Sadly, there's really just kind of nobody.
Dude, I'm looking at the available free agents here. Really, the only guys available that could fit this team are PJ Washington and Kelly Oubre. We're not bringing Christian Wood back. You can let that one go. Plumlee, no. And who else? Lonnie Walker was signed. Beasley. I thought Malik Beasley actually would have been a value signing for the Sixers, but the Bucks got him on a minimum. He goes to the Bucks of all teams, and Thibault got $11 million per year with the Blazers to stay. What else are you going to do? They have to make a trade at this point. You have to trade Toby.
Yes, that's what has to happen. That's what has to happen. There's no real free agent signing that's going to move the needle without making these trades that we're waiting on. Somebody
said, why wouldn't you bring Christian Wood in? And do I have to answer that? I mean, let's be honest here. He went to the Mavs, and what happened? He was non-existent. He's another center. I don't want to keep answering these, man. It's
Eastwood and Orby salute. We signed Beverley. Now Bamba. Can you say championship? I want to off myself right now, boys. But at least we got the birds soon. Yeah, at least we got the birds soon, man. But yeah, I mean, it sucks because when we do these shows and people, want to be they want to hear some optimism. This is and I've been negative about the Sixers for a long time, but this is definitely the most negative I've been about this team in years and years and years. I don't see anything. I don't see anything to look forward to right now unless one of these major trades happens, and that's just the reality of it. I am not in a positive state when it comes to the Sixers at all.
So, shout out to Sean McQuestion, $2 super chat. He said, "Let's go, Tony the GOAT." Look, man, I'm there with you, and usually I try to keep the optimistic eye out. I thought a Tobias trade was very realistic based on what was reported, and I was optimistic at that point. And then once Daryl Morey put the post out with the crumble cookies, he took a lot of my optimism away. And once the James Harden trade reporting went absolutely dead quiet, a lot more of my optimism went away. I'm still trying to be optimistic. I just don't see how they're going to improve the roster unless they trade those two. And if they keep them, then who are you going to sign to play off the bench? Who's the Sixers bench right now? Paul Reed, given that he comes back. And who else? Patrick Beverley and Mo Bamba.
They absolutely can't run. This absolutely can't be the team that they start training camp with. It can't. Something major absolutely 100% has to happen. There's no way this fan base is even like what the fan base is going to show up with paper bags on their head if they come in with this team right now.
Somebody said Furkan Korkmaz. You guys want to bring Furkan back for another year and let him start playing? I mean, and the thing that really gets me is that they have no draft picks. It's not like they can, draft some of these guys or develop. So it's like, where do you go? That's where I'm at ahead.
Listen, right. A lot of people don't want to admit right now, but this team is very close to the process 2.0. It just is what it is. There's no money. There's no draft picks. Maxey is the future. Thank God Daryl Morey is refusing to trade him for anything. I love that. But yeah, I mean, whatever. You got to move Harden and Tobias before training camp. It has to happen. Hopefully it does. Hopefully, next week when we do this show, we have some a little bit of movement, maybe some things that kind of change how we feel about the possibility of these things happening. But right now in the beginning of the offseason, I haven't felt great so far about what I've seen. That's just where I'm at with it, man.
And one thing I want to point out, I don't know if you could pull this up, but Woj just put out a tweet, right? We're talking about the Sixers who have a lack of assets. And Woj just put out a tweet saying that after acquiring KD and Bradley Beal, the Phoenix Suns had no controllable draft picks through 2030. But the Suns just acquired 3 second-round picks in a trade with Memphis. So the Suns, who have no assets at all to trade anything other than their big three, went out and got draft picks. Why can't the Sixers make a move? Why can't they, progress on a deal or get something? Why?
After the Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal blockbusters cleaned out, Phoenix of controllable draft picks through 2030. The Suns acquired 3 second-round picks in a trade with Memphis. Why can't we do things like that? Daryl was supposed to purchase a second-round pick this year, and he didn't even do that.
Frustrated, man. And I think this trade request is going to drag out because I don't see him budging at all unless he gets a mega package. And I just don't see it right now.
Before we get out of here, I want to look at this. I want your opinion on this because I think it's funny. And I don't know if we've seen this in the Summer League yet. The proposed in-game flopping penalty will be in effect on a provisional basis for the 2023 Summer League games. The NBA is trying to, and here's the problem that I have with it. The NBA is trying to remove flopping from the game. They're trying to get players to stop flopping. The proposed in-game penalty will be in effect on a provisional basis. Basically, if a flopping penalty is obsessed by game officials, the opposing team will be awarded 1 free throw in possession of the ball. There's no way they can do this live in a game. First of all, NBA officials are not good enough to even call fouls correctly. Now we're going to have officials trying to call flops and award the other team a free throw in possession, but they're going to get that wrong. They're going to call flops when it wasn't a flop. They're going to call, dude, there's no way this is going to work. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think there's no way it'll work. I do like the other thing they're implementing about the challenges where as long as you get them right, you continue to get more. But
I like that.
There's no way that this works. In fact, I saw a video clip yesterday. They actually called one, and the guy was just shocked. And he walks on the floor, and he's like, "What?" And it's just not going to work out. Very subjective type of thing.
Right?
Like you said, the refs are already bad enough. It's not.
Yeah, I don't know why they would ever think that referees can call a flop on the fly.
They can't
call. That doesn't make any sense to me. Right? They can't even call fouls correctly.
It's like, come on, man.
How are you going to call a flop on the fly? They need to do what they said they were going to do years ago, which is review every game, pick out the flops, and find the player that flopped in that game. They find Steph Curry one time for kicking out his leg on a three-pointer. I remember when that happened, and then all of a sudden it never happened again. I thought we were getting somewhere. If you start finding these guys $50,000 every time they throw themselves out of bounds, then they'll stop doing it. But you can't do it live during the game. You have to review the game and find the players for flopping. I don't understand this, but yeah.
No, I agree. Before we get out of here, though, shout out to everybody that's been, commenting in the chat. Guys, do us a favor. Drop an emoji, drop a fire or a thumbs up if you enjoyed, this collaboration. And also, I got a question for the chat out there, both channels. Wherever you're tapping in, hit the like button for sure and subscribe. Confidence scale 1 to 10. 1 being not at all confident, 10 being the utmost confidence. And you can answer this as well. What is your confidence level of the Sixers steering this offseason right and making things happen and getting the team in position to a point where it's, come October or September in training camp, we're like, all right, this team got it right. They steered it on the right track. What is your confidence level right now on July 6th? Maybe we'll end the show every week with a confidence meter.
Yeah, I like
and
that.
See how it improves or maybe goes the other way.
All right, so hold on, let me bring you back up here. So 0 out of 10 confidence level.
Yeah, we got a super chat as well. Shout out to Hayden Azanaro.
Yeah, shout out to Hayden. Thanks for the super chat. I feel bad for Daryl's family. People probably calling them up saying, "What the hell is he doing?" I agree. No way they're going to training camp like this. I mean, that's just when you take a job like that. That's what happens. I don't think his family's really affected. Hopefully people aren't saying mean things to Daryl Morey's family. I don't know. But confidence level, scale of 1 to 10, that the Sixers figure this out and come into training camp with a team that we feel good about. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah. So on a confidence scale, 1 being not confident at all, 10 being the utmost confidence. So we're getting a lot of different answers in the chat. So which is very interesting.
Here's where I'm gonna go with it. I am a 7 confident because of this. I think Daryl Morey is at a crossroads right now, and what happens this offseason actually defines his career and his legacy. That's why he kind of backstabbed his buddy James Harden on the "we'll give you a big contract later if you take a pay cut," like all of that stuff that happened. I think he got faced with, I can't do that, and now I need to do what's best for me as a GM and the team that I'm running, and he kind of stepped away from his buddy friendship. Not that they're not friends, but kind of didn't bend over to whatever James Harden requested with the trade or the contract, and things like that. I think Daryl Morey's in a position where he now has to do something that his legacy or his whole career could be defined on. So I think he's going to make a major move. I know that's what I'm saying. Like he's traded for James Harden, and he traded for James Harden again. His whole career has been James Harden, James Harden, James Harden. I think Daryl Morey's at a point right now where he has to do something major that doesn't have anything to do with James Harden, and he knows that. And I think he's going to do that because if he comes back with this team, then Daryl Morey kind of did nothing besides trade for James Harden twice in his career and not much else. So I have confidence that something big is going to happen.
Okay. I'm going to take the safe answer for week 1. I'm going to say 5 because I agree with everything you said. And I do think that there's a lot of pressure. And I think Daryl Morey, who, by the way, has never won a championship, still wants to make that happen. And I do think there's a lot of pressure. And he knows this team is not good enough right now. And they need to add, they need to get better. And there's a couple ways to do that. But at the same time, I just don't see a lot of options out there. Like, I just don't know if it's realistic right now because nobody wants James Harden for what the Sixers are asking, and nobody wants Tobias Harris. And it doesn't even seem like the Sixers are offering Tobias Harris. So I think we're at a crossroads, and now free agency is mostly dried up, and we're in summer league, and you're sitting there thinking, like, what's going to happen now? It all hinges on James Harden and how that situation plays out. But even if he comes back, which we didn't even hint on, but like, is James Harden going to play if he's disgruntled? I don't want to see that. So it's like, I'm just going to go with the safe answer. I have optimism, but a lot more pessimism as well. I'll take it with the safe 5, and we'll see how it is next week.
Yeah. All right. I'm down with that. Joe Cook, thank you for the super chat. Who's better, Oubre, Thibault, or McDaniels? I'll take McDaniels at his age and potential compared to like what I've seen, I guess, from Kelly Oubre throughout his career. It depends on the team and what players you're looking for to fit and things like that. But I think McDaniels has a lot of potential. He wasn't used by Doc Rivers. I was hoping that Nurse was going to get a chance to get more out of McDaniels, and then he walked. So, but I'm over Oubre. Thibault, I don't know if he'll ever develop an offensive game. His defensive game is massive. He's a freak athlete, and if a coach can use him the right way in certain spots and kind of hide him on offense or whatever, he can be a great piece for somebody. But I guess my answer is McDaniels.
Yeah, I would also go with McDaniels just for what the Sixers especially would need him for. I think his skill set kind of aligns with, the needs and really the wants of the Sixers. And for some reason, they did not re-sign him. I'd say Oubre a couple years ago was probably the best overall player, but we haven't seen that. He's been injured. He's been down. Thibault just has never improved, and just a very weird player, a guy who I had a lot of hope for and looked like he could be the next 3-and-D wing. He could be the perfect fit. Never improved the jump shot, and that went sour. So I would probably lean towards McDaniels, given the age and the potential.
Yeah, there you have it. RB and Eastwood every Thursday. We'll see if there's some kind of traction on the James Harden situation next Thursday. But yeah, man, this was fun, and we're gonna keep doing this for you guys every Thursday. We're gonna try to do it every Thursday, all summer long. Whether somebody's on vacation or something like that, it might not happen every Thursday or whatever, but you know what I mean? We're going to try to keep it going for you guys. You guys requested it. The two goats of Sixers content creation. We're here. So yeah. Let's
appreciate it, man. And
going, man.
Shout out to Joe Cook. He also dropped a $10 super chat. Like I say, guys, you guys keep supporting this show. We will keep pumping out the content. Keep getting active in the comments, whether you guys agree, disagree, whatever. We're here to just talk it up, chop it up. This is kind of like a Sixers therapy, for the people as well. And I think when nobody's talking about it and people are frustrated, we're here to also get some thoughts.
Yeah. And, if there's not like major news for us to talk about when we're on here, we'll start doing things. We'll start playing games. We'll start doing like, would you rather have this? Would you rather have that? We'll start doing, one gotta go, those tweets where they show 4 players and one's gotta go. We'll start doing all kinds of things like that just to make it fun. So we're going to keep it going. Absolutely, man. Yep. Keep supporting the content, and thank you guys so much as always. It's great to get this collab back in, man, and get a more personal type of show going. So let's keep rocking, and hopefully the Sixers make progress into next week. Hopefully. Hit the like button, everybody. See you next time.